Let's bring our palms together at our heart and gently close your eyes. Begin to take your next inhale through the nostrils. So breathe in through the nose and breathe out through the nose. And bring your awareness into the center of the eyebrows, into the Chittakash, the mind space. And we're going to ask for us to go deep within and find an area, find the place within yourself that feels dark, feels a bit murky. A place that you don't necessarily like to go to very often. It's where your dark aspects lie. Perhaps where your insecurities fester. Keep your awareness in the center of the eyebrows. Keep your focus on your breath. And dive within. Just notice this space. Try not to judge it. Try not to analyze it. Just notice that it's there. Now let's take another deep inhale, breathe in. And breathe out. Release your hands down and slowly open up your eyes. And welcome to our Astro Yoga chat. I'm Kate.
And I'm Natalie. Hi.
Welcome to a topic that we're going to go into about imperfections and the wounded healer.
Yes, exactly. So we chose to talk about Chiron today. So actually, we finished all of the major planets we have. Pluto last time was actually a dwarf planet already, so he got degraded. And now we go to a next category. So it's a planetoid. He's still big, but he's not one of the major ones. But he, is actually covering a big issue. So Chiron is called the wounded healer in astrology. And I think we have to look a little bit back at the myth to understand the placement in your chart and what it does. And then, of course, like always, we'll link it to yoga, right, Kate?
Of course.
Yeah. So Chiron was actually a wedlock child between Saturn and Philaea, and Saturn was actually married Cronus, and in order to have this affair, he changed into a horse. So he had this affair. The baby was born. The baby was a centaur, so half man and half horse. And he was cast away by his mom because he was so ugly. So that is already a major wound, right? That happened. But he became a healer, very smart. He was actually one of the first to use herbs in healing. He was good at predicting. He was good in martial arts and a lot of things, and became the teacher of many famous figures in mythology like Achilles and Jason and whatever. So he got injured by accident by a poisoned arrow. And as he was immortal, that meant for him he would suffer eternally without ever being healed from it. He could not do anything against it. So he decided to ask the gods to be able to die and give up his immortality for Prometheus. So if you know the story of Prometheus a little bit, I don't know what he did exactly, but he was cast on a mountain, and every day a bird would eat his liver. So that was his punishment, right? So Chiron gave up his immortality for Prometheus to be saved, and he was actually becoming a star constellation now in Sagittarius. And it's a very interesting place that we have. So it goes dark and it goes deep, a little bit like Pluto. It has something to do with our shadow, and it's a deep wound that is probably there for a lifetime. It's a big issue and thing that you have to work on. But it's also like one of your greatest areas of gains and growing and improving, because if you master it, that's where you become the teacher and help other people's heal in that area.
That's a positive reminder of the wounds that we have, the struggles that we go through, is that we don't have to feel so helpless about them. We don't have to feel so like this is like our death sentence in a way, right? So this isn't our death sentence. This could actually help us be reborn and feel alive and feel awakened when we work with the parts of us that feel wounded, that feel like the dark aspects, those shadow sides, that like place that you don't want to go to because it makes you feel really uncomfortable. But if you actually do go there and sit with it and be with it, then you can help others do the same with their dark places. And all of our dark places are very unique, right? They're just
I think also what is interesting is that Chiron's return is between 49 and 50. And so if you avoided that issue for a long time and you pushed it down, never worked on it, never looked at it, it will come up like, very intensely again. But if you've done the work, it's so much like also with Saturn and, other planets, that it turns into a reward. So you've mastered the lesson, and then you step up in status and become the teacher. So, I mean, I figured it out for myself in my life. So it's always worth like looking at it and dealing with it, like pushing things down does not really work.
no, because as we understand that the lessons will still come, like the more that, okay, as we're on our spiritual path and as we grow, it's not that you have less and less challenges or stuff in your life. If anything, it's quite the opposite. You have more challenges because you're more aware of your challenges, and you're not saying to yourself, oh, this challenge is happening because of the outside, and oh, this is because of this. No, it's like, okay, the more spiritual you become, the more you understand that you're part of everything. So you also as well are, you're part of you are your healer. You are your healer, I
And the
think.
outside is always a reflection of the inside. So if lessons are repeating, it's because of you, because you are the common denominator, right? And if we go a step further now and link it to yoga, I mean, Kate, what brought you to yoga? Did you have like a physical issue or something that got better by doing yoga? And was that the reason why you became a teacher?
So when so the actually I actually didn't come to yoga for any of the physical part of it all. Like I actually came to yoga because of the spirituality, because of the way that it made me connect with my stuff that was happening on the inside. Prior to me getting certified in yoga, I actually was going to get certified in Pilates because I loved the movement of Pilates, this was the first time that I did an exercise where I was integrated in my body, right? So in yoga too, we're very integrated in the body. We're not just like push, 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 go, go, go. It's very controlled. And I love that about Pilates. But when I found yoga, which was very soon after Pilates, what was missing from Pilates for me was the spirituality, was that place. Because in yoga, your asana practice is just one little part of your yoga practice. What happens in yoga and how it's like, it's philosophy, it's consciousness, it's a different ball game than just being physical. You can have someone who's a very amazing yogi who has never even stepped on the yoga mat. It's because they have mastered the art of their heart and compassion and the beautiful virtues. So when I came to yoga and I found that this place was an open space to speak spirituality, to speak about my stuff, my dark places, to understand that we are part a micro and a macro, which I always felt. And, it gave me food. It really nourished and energized me. But the way that I became a yoga teacher, which is very interesting, is like I was practicing yoga very continuous. Like that was it. This was part, once I was on the yoga path, this is my life. I never thought that I would become a yoga instructor. And now looking back at why I never thought I would be a yoga instructor, and this is part of one of my wounds that I've been working with, is I never thought that I was good enough, right? So I can't do certain things. I can't stand on my hands with my legs up in the air. I can't do certain asanas. But also, I also felt too that other people, in a sense, are more confident than I am or better than I am. It wasn't until, because I loved yoga so much and I wanted other people in my life to experience yoga, that I was actually taking a class in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I was with my in-laws at the time. They came to a beginner yoga class, and we were all lined up in the back row of this yoga studio. And I thought it was a beginner class. And Natalie, as you know, because you've been teaching now a beginner series, right? Beginners is like, you really have to take every step, and like you can't just like throw your arms in the air and do these things. Like, you gotta be specific. Well, the instructor was just doing like sun salutations, and then at some point put us into like shoulder stand, which I almost like had a heart attack. I know, I almost had a heart attack because my mother-in-law at that time is German, and like she was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm like, no, you're gonna hurt yourself. Oh my God, I was so scared. And then when we left the yoga studio, my father-in-law at the time is Icelandic. And then he told me, he's like, Kate, yoga is just not for me. Like, I don't feel it just wasn't. And I got so mad because yoga is for everybody. It was just that class that just did not connect with them because it was too fast. It was too hard. It was too all these things. And it was at that moment that I'm about to curse, I'm stopping myself, with every bit of like, I said, I'm going to become a yoga teacher, or like I'm going to do it, Actually, let me take that step back, because I have to give credit to my ex-husband, because he's the one that told me, Kate, if you're so upset about this, why don't you become a yoga teacher? And that's whenever I threw my hands up in the air. I said, I will. So I was like, I didn't care anymore. I didn't care about like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not this enough. I knew that this is such an amazing, beautiful practice that I was like, I'm going to take my place of not feeling confident enough or whatever. And I'm going to say, screw it. I'm going to show up and do it. That's how I became a yoga teacher.
Very nice. So your path was more like spirituality, and then, like stepping up. So, that was not a good class. I can do it better. For me, it was like real physical issues. I talked about it before in our first podcast. So it was issues with not being able to sleep, being overworked, having no way of relaxing than sleeping or napping. And the other thing was, I've been dancing all my life since I was 5 years old, partly professionally. And from doing so much external rotation, I had something that felt like ischias pain, sciatica, but it was actually piriformis syndrome. So the muscles were too tight, they were pinching the nerves. I had so much pain, I couldn't lift my leg anymore. And then I started taking yoga, and yoga has so many neutral poses where you turn your legs into the other direction, which we never do in dance. And my pain was within weeks, was gone totally. I was like, wow, I had so much pain. I couldn't lift my leg. I couldn't walk anymore without pain. I was like, this is incredible. And that was the beginning of wanting to share this. So also my Chiron personally, so I mean, we're the same age, so both of our Chiron is in Taurus. So it has to do, Taurus is money, it's femininity, and Taurus also has to do with self-worth, but mine is in the 9th house. So I always have issues of feeling I don't have enough knowledge. I want to learn more. So my mom always says, like, there's no person in the world who has more certificates than you. I learn everything. I'm like, more knowledge, yes, more traveling, more learning, I'm always happy. So, once I discover something, I just really want to plunge deep and learn everything. So, and then of course, once I have a certain knowledge, it's like, you have to know about this. This is incredible. So then it's the desire to share, what I discovered.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
And also in teaching, I think um, I heard something in my yoga teacher training. One of our teachers said, well, do you have physical issues? And back then there was a girl, she said, no, I never had anything in my life. I cannot relate why people couldn't do this pose or that pose. So our teacher said, well, just wait, whenever something comes up in your body, this will actually turn into your specialty as a teacher, because you have to learn for yourself, then you'll share it. And years later in dance class, I hurt my knee, I hurt my meniscus. I had for years and years to do with that issue. So, really, as a teacher, because when I do yoga and my knee is just off by a very tiny inch, I have problems for weeks and months with my knee again. So I know in every pose where the knee has to be, I always say the knee has to win in every pose. So I look out for my students, I like, knee needs to move out a little bit, needs to be like this, so this is truly my specialty. I see it from very far if a knee's doing something that is funky, that's not correct. So, and also for people who are very physical and as a former dance and stuff, as you said, in beginners classes can be sometimes really hard to understand why things for us that we do so many times a day are difficult, and it helps you to be more humble and empathic and understanding people, once you had something that's going on in your own body, to see things can be really hard, and how do we work with it.
Yeah. Actually, when I first started practicing yoga, I developed a very bad lower back situation. I was using my body in ways that I never did before. And then for about a couple of years, I had really bad lower back pain that would come out of nowhere. And I did a lot of work physically. So for my center, for understanding how to move my like core. And so a lot of my soul and study classes, as you know, Natalie, like we are very focused here on like core strength and back strength. And that is because of my own personal wounds. And then being able to, and I haven't had, knock on wood, any of that back pain in, I don't know, over a decade, and so.
I also think one more way how we can link Chiron and yoga is, well, because with Chiron, you always feel like imperfect, something is not correct, other people are better. And it's accepting that as a student in your asana practice, like, this pose, after so many years, I still cannot do it. And as a teacher, there are things I know so well, and other things, I'm not so good at teaching, or at this level, or whatever it is. And yoga is just always a preparation for life. So can you be also in your life authentic and say, these are things that are difficult for me, but I'm still working on it, and being humble. Every person in the world has, areas that are more difficult, and they excel in different areas. So it's about being authentic and truthful and humble.
Yeah, humble in the journey, because as we said, and I'll bring this back in just so that way we all hear it again. The more that you're on your spiritual path, the more that you're progressing forward, it doesn't mean you're going to have less and less challenges. If anything, you're going to have the same lesson come to you to see if you really understand it. There are times in my life where I really feel like I'm connecting with the lesson of unconditional love. And then the energies, God, the divine, decides to tell me, oh, yes, Kate, do you think you love unconditionally? How about a little bit of this? Now tell me, do you love unconditionally? It's like,
Right. Also, though, with all these issues, and once you have the courage to look at them, I think there's also a little bit of a pat on your shoulder. So maybe we can put it out for our viewers as a homework assignment. Like, is there an issue you've been dealing with for a long time? And then really be honest, like, how far have you come? You probably are just so much more further than you were in the beginning. You're probably not at the same place, and maybe you haven't reached the goal where it's just easy, and maybe it will never be easy. But we have to acknowledge, if we constantly work on something, there is progress, and we can deal with things in a better way.
Absolutely. 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 I think and yes, so that's the homework assignment, everyone, is to look at where you've look at that wound, look at that place, look at that dark place, and then, but also look at how far you've come. Look at the lessons that you've gathered, look at the strength that you've gathered. You're not in the same place that you were in a year ago. I'm not in the same place that I was in a year ago. Neither are you, Natalie. Like, it doesn't mean that we don't have our challenges. It doesn't mean that we don't have our stuff, but we're not in the same place. We're growing, we're expanding, and it's like, so look at the bigger, step back a little bit and start to look at that bigger picture.
My mom has a saying, when she's talking about, what it's like to have kids and dealing with it. I don't have kids, but she always had this saying, like, little kids, they have little issues. Big kids like us, grown kids, they have big issues. So it's like your issues, they grow with you. So the older you become, apparently the universe thinks like, okay, you can deal with more stuff. So, you're up leveling, your lessons get harder. You have so many tools for the little things already, and it's getting easier. So yeah, I mean, it's not getting easier, but yeah, there's always a challenge in life.
Always, but it's like the reason why it's funny, like in the beginning I didn't think I was going to be a yoga teacher, and not because I didn't love yoga, it's because I didn't have the confidence to do it. And it wasn't until I realized that I want to help other people, and it doesn't matter, I put myself off to the side. So I took myself and I said, no, it doesn't matter if I don't feel comfortable about it. I think that I'm like, I can do this. I can do this. I want to help people. So this is also a good reminder that, like, it's like what you mentioned, your wounded healer is also like your secret power. My drive of helping people in yoga, when people come to my yoga class, they feel confident. When I train teachers, my job is to make them feel confident. And what it does in return is that it builds my confidence, because I don't have all the answers. I'm not like totally confident where I'm walking into the room like, I got this. No, I'm like scared, but I'm doing it anyway because it's coming from a different place. I'm not allowing my dark spot. I'm not allowing my wound or my shadow to keep me hidden. If anything, I'm bringing it with me into the room and saying, I'm sitting it next to me and saying, here's my issue. My like issue is my confidence. So let's work on it. Let's like be here together.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I also experience in teaching, like, sometimes I do, like, for my vinyasa classes, like very nice choreographies and nice music, but the reactions are maybe not that great. And once I go really deep and I'm extremely humble, and as you said, I'm teaching from my own issues and being very vulnerable and raw, and what I'm dealing with in teaching, also physically, whatever aspect, then there is so much feedback. So the more humble I am as a teacher, and I think that is Chiron, teaching from your own wounds, then you hit a chord with students, because everybody has a wound someplace, and it's just totally different. So it's never like teaching, like being on stage, or it's fun and the music, they can take whatever class that is fun and movement, but that's the unique thing about yoga, because it is spirituality, it's your soul, it's your heart, it's your body, it's your breath, it's everything. And it's preparing and making us better for life.
That's perfect. I'm sorry. That's perfect. Shall we do one last meditation together? Just because we just had this big, deep conversation. So let's go back to where we were. Bring your palms together at your heart from when we first started. And as you close your eyes and just take a deeper breath in, and maybe breathe out of the mouth, like let out the energy. And bring your awareness into the center of the eyebrows. And go back to that dark spot, that dark place within you, now that we've had this beautiful conversation about the wounded healer and how it doesn't have to be negative. If anything, this can be very positive in your life by bringing it to the light and understanding that you've come a really long way. Continue to heal yourself so that way your experience, without even using any words, can help heal others. So go ahead and take a deeper breath into this dark place. And as you exhale, be soft, be easy, and be compassionate. Then open up your eyes, release your hands. And thank you, everyone, very much. Thank you.